The cleaning industry has normalized broke owners, but at least they're stressed, overworked, and not even building wealth. Most owners think the problem is revenue. More customers equals more rich and more famous. The truth is there are really 4 key numbers that actually matter, but most owners either don't know what they are or don't understand what those numbers are trying to tell them. Truth is, you should be able to look at these 4 numbers and know the real problem in your business in about 30 seconds. Let's dive in. After 30 years buying, building, and selling several multi-million-dollar companies, mixed in with more than a decade of coaching owners of cleaning companies exclusively, I noticed a theme of what keeps people and owners of cleaning companies stuck. Emotions lie, math doesn't. So write down these 4 numbers and we'll get to the math. Revenue, cost of goods sold, expense, profit. Revenue, cost of goods sold, expense, profit. That's it, not 47, 4. And when you understand what these 4 numbers are trying to tell you, growth becomes simple. Ignore them, you'll stay stuck and probably not even know why. Owners focus way too much on what they think other successful owners are doing, and it kills them. Don't focus on what you think is working for that guy. Focus on a proven system that actually works for every cleaning company. Now write this down. Healthy financial structure for cleaning company looks like this. 45% cost of goods sold. That's just your cleaner pay and supplies. 25% operating expenses. Every other expense, marketing, admin, software, all of it that's not physically doing the work, cleaners. And when you take those 2 numbers from your revenue, that leaves 30 cents out of every dollar in the company, or every dollar that comes into the company, 30 cents goes right into the owner's pocket. Now here's the blunt truth. If you're not taking home 25% or more without personally working 40 hours a week in the business, you own a stressful job, not a business, and most certainly not an asset you can sell for what it's worth. Now that you know the numbers you need, let's make sure you get those numbers accurate and on time so you can make smart database decisions you actually feel confident about. Now, if you're one of those who are going, I do my accounting on my own, but you keep getting behind so you don't have accurate on-time data, fire yourself. Hire an accountant who can and will get you the data you need accurate and on time. You're the boss. Now, when I ask prospects or newer clients about these basic financial data points, often they'll say something like, oh, my accountant handles that, which I've discovered almost always means I have no clue what's going on in my business and I'm really afraid to look. Remember, your accountant works for you. You can and must hold your accountant accountable. Those 4 numbers, accurate by the 10th of the month following, so if it's January, by February 10th, I need those numbers and they need to be correct. Not when the accountant gets to it, not when he's not busy, by the 10th. If they can't or won't, fire them. Hire someone that can and will. All right, before you beat yourself up about how hard this is to find an accountant like that, this is all I do. We had such a hard time finding good accountants for our clients that knew what they were doing and got stuff on time. We actually hired our own accounting team for them. So it is 100% possible, but it can be a little bit of a pain in the neck. Either way, it's non-negotiable. Drive a company blindfolded, and sooner or later, you're gonna run into a wall. Almost every owner who comes to us is convinced they need better marketing, more systems, hiring, leads, employee handbooks. But 90% of the time, the numbers tell a completely different story. They almost never have a growth problem. They typically have a math problem. For example, we had a client doing north of $50,000 a month, and she was convinced she needed more clients to get profitable. But when we actually got into the numbers, we found a different story. Her current profit was 8%, not 18, not 28%, 8. She had to do $100,000 of revenue and work and take on $100,000 of risk just to scrape together $8,000 for herself. Once we had clear data, the problem became simple. We optimized her cleaner pay, tweaked pricing for a handful of clients, and plugged a few expense holes. 60 days later, profit more than tripled from 8 to 27%, and the best part is she actually worked less. Same revenue, different focus. Massive difference in her day-to-day life, her personal financial situation, and of course, the value of her company. Shiny object syndrome kills growth. Focus scales. Let's move on to one of the most dangerous lies owners tell themselves about growth. Here it is. I'll make money when I grow, or I'll be profitable when I grow. The truth is, revenue's like alcohol. It doesn't change the personality or even the profitability of your business. It just reveals and magnifies what you've already got going on. Scale or growth isn't linear, it's exponential. Without the proper foundational systems, a $40,000 a month company isn't twice as hard or twice as risky to run as a $20,000 company. It's 5 or 10 times as hard. And owners focus solely on growth discover this the hard way when they grow without understanding the financial realities, and they end up working twice as hard, often for the same and sometimes for less money. And that caused them to actually start hating the business they once loved. So if you're not taking at least 20% profit, that's not the goal, that's the minimum, pause growth. Profitable foundation first, scale second. Great idea. So how do you actually do that? I'm glad you asked. Here's exactly how to use these numbers to diagnose what's really going on in your business. Start with number one, cost of goods sold. If it costs you more than half your revenue, ideally 45%, to directly provide the service, you've got a pricing and or payroll structure problem. And this isn't solved by adding more clients, and it's not solved by yelling at your team to clean faster. It's solved with math. Start by ensuring you're paying no more than 10 to 20% above industry average in your area based on cleaner performance, not just random, this guy's been here a while. Then identify profitability by client so you can raise prices on clients starting with the highest cost of goods sold, working your way down, right? Starting with the least profitable to the least profitable. And you do that until your overall company gets where it needs to be in terms of cost of goods sold. Now, I totally understand this can feel scary, but the truly scary thing is letting a few uncomfortable conversations make you miss out on your dreams. Once we've passed the cost of goods sold test, it's time for number two, the expense test. If you're spending more than a quarter of your revenue on expenses, 25% on expenses like software, company cars, office space, admin team, you've got yourself an overhead problem. And this is where ego tends to creep in and wreak havoc and insert itself into a conversation that should really only have room for math. Having done this personally with hundreds of owners of cleaning companies, we found that the fear of change is almost always far worse than what actually plays out in reality. But the financial realities happen every time the decisions are made. Now, I often get in trouble with my wife trying to solve her emotional problems with logic, something I got to work on. But I don't want you to do the reverse and get in trouble with reality, trying to solve logical problems with emotions. Just as bad. Remember, if you've got a problem that requires money and you have money, you don't have a problem. Once your direct cost to provide the service is under half, under 50%, ideally under 45%, and your other expenses are 25% or less, that means your profitability is good and it finally makes sense to look at company revenue. Now, since you know your profit will be 25 to 30%, it stands to reason that if your total company isn't bringing in at least 4 times what you need to pay yourself every month, you do have a revenue problem. Easy math. If you want to take home $150,000 per year, just multiply that times 4, and you'll easily find that your company needs to do at least $600,000 a year. So if you need $150,000 a year profit and your company's only doing $400,000, we do have a revenue problem, but we don't want to attack that until we get the cost of goods sold and the expenses right. Once again, our old friend math to the rescue. So one more reminder, profit is money you get without having to work in the business. So if you have to clean or do repetitive tasks to get paid, that's not profit, it's pay for work that you do. All right, here's where things get exciting. Profit changes everything. Obviously you make more money, we love that, but you also have less stress. You have more bullets in your gun to test new things. Decisions get easier. Dealing with headaches suddenly becomes worth it. Creating systems and working on your business becomes fun because you're actually seeing results. This is where owners transform. They stop asking, how do I grow as fast as possible? And start asking, what are the numbers really telling me? Growth becomes expected, not emotional. You stop chasing tactics and start adjusting dials at a very high level. You really move from operator to owner. Even better, once you solve this problem, you get to move on to the next better problem, capacity. All the money in the world with no time to spend it because you're trapped by a business you hate is not success. In the next video, we're going to break down exactly how to remove yourself from the bottleneck, kill chaos, and create a business infrastructure that's truly ready to grow without driving you nuts. Because if you try to grow with broken capacity, you'll destroy all that yummy margin we just discovered. If you need some help getting your numbers accurate every single month and on time so you can stop guessing and start building, shoot me an email, links below. Doesn't matter whether it's us or some other accountant, please don't continue driving your business blindfolded, because once you see clearly, you stop operating in drama and you start building a real company. Catch you in the next video.